Yes, welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak right here on Citizen TV. My name is Fred Indimuli. Time to take a look at the issues behind the headlines. This morning, we're privileged to have on my news review team. Let me begin from my right, Duncan Okach, a lawyer.
Thank you.
My immediate left, Morige Kamande, also a lawyer, and Jonah Mboro, MP Lari constituency. Good morning, gentlemen. Karibuni sana. I'm sure it is your first time in this new, bigger, brighter studio.
Yes, it is.
How is it feeling?
Now, how would I say? But
you said it doesn't feel like it's somewhere in Kenya.
Yes, it does.
I thought at CNN.
Yes,
actually.
Well, it could actually be better than CNN. You know?
Yes, sure.
Maheshiwa karibu sana as well. I know it's your first time on Daybreak. Yes. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Pleasure too.
Now, the headlines today, if you just look at the two biggest dailies, that's the Daily Nation and the Standard, it's about tenders on the front pages. 3 billion shilling secret tender deal for identity data. That's a big one on the front page of the Daily Nation. On the Standard, inside the dark world of tender cartels. Now, we've been talking about this issue of corruption over and over. It is a consistent theme this entire year. Immediately after the election, we are no longer talking about the cabinet. We're no longer talking even about the Big Four agenda. It's about corruption over and over again. But this time, it does not seem like it's about to end. People are hungry. People want to eat. Yes? Now, the Standard delves deeper into the dark world of tender cartels. Cartels meet to cut deals, get preview of confidential contract details, and decide who gets what contract and at what amount. The story continues on page 6. Issues of overpricing, inflation. When a tender is maybe for 1 billion shillings, they make sure it's about 1.5 billion because that to actually cater for the kickbacks and what everyone who has probably supplying just air will get. And on the front page of the Daily Nation, state officials have crafted a top secret restricted tender for procurement of a digital population registration system, which is likely to revive ghosts of the multi-billion shilling Anglo leasing scandal. Now, when you see such headlines, Duncan, on a morning like today, how does it make you feel? Because we've had Kenya Power, we've had NYS Season 1, Season 2, we've had, and this is coming in quick succession this year alone, yes, we've had Ruaraka Land scandal, we've had Kenya Pipeline, Kenya Power, all these things happening in quick succession. How does it make you feel reading this? Are you getting to a point where you just feel some form of lethargy that this is just the life of a Kenyan?
Indeed, Fred, looking at the two headlines, and it's quite coincidental that both of them being leading newspapers in the country have the same headline. The
editors don't sit at a meeting,
they don't sit
the Standard and the Daily Nation and agree, okay, tomorrow
we are talking about this, and it actually will be even on the front page. It just tells you that it captures what is going on in this country. And for me, for me as a Kenyan, I would want to look at the date. Is it Friday the 13th or what? Because it's just bad news for Kenyans. Looking at the effort that is being churned out today, it means that we expect that people should be avoiding such things based on the actions that are being taken from the government side itself and the multi-agencies who are tasked with fighting corruption. And you see that people are now being indicted every day. They're being arraigned in court. We are seeing the court actually sentencing these particular individuals heftily. And for you, you expect that to be a deterrent. But I'm wondering if that is not a deterrent, then I'm back to a point where you rightly captured it. It's called mega death syndrome. It's a point where you feel like you give up.
It's done, yes.
Yeah, because if this cannot cure it, then it means we must look for another solution.
Because it doesn't inspire any confidence, really. We're talking about this big fight against corruption, but even the president leading. This is right at the center of government. When you talk about tenders, this is taxpayers' money. There's no single day my employer will fail to tax my pay. And these are the kinds of headlines I'm reading every day happening. I put my money into government because it is my money. It is Kenyans' money. Then a secret tender, something that is going to take a lot of money. We're seeing cartels which meet to decide what will happen with this money. Surely. How much can a Kenyan take?
You know, I wasn't surprised when I saw these two headlines, and I remember talking to Duncan, and I told him that it seems that's the norm, it has become the norm, that there are people in this country who, if you ask what their profession is, they'll tell you that they are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And that's the reason why right now the most sought after course, especially in universities and colleges, is procurement. And then you ask yourself, why procurement? It is because we've got to a point where now people in their mind are just thinking about business. I remember a while back when we were sitting with
business
you.
or theft of government.
It is tendering. I wanted just to say it is tendering, because essentially it is about tendering. And if you want to know how crucial tendering is, especially with government, at times you'll find a newspaper, half of the newspaper are tenders from various government departments. I remember some time back when we were with you in this show, somebody told us that the best person to do with business is government. Definitely. So you look at their
because
people,
government will always pay.
It might not always pay, but you look at the volumes that are the volumes of the contracts, the values of those contracts. For example, there's no individual who can contract anyone for 3 billion. Yeah. So it is the best person now for all these tenders, and the target right now is the government. And you look at these tenders, they come at the wake hardly. It's almost 1 year after the election, and you look at the people who fund these elections right now with the promise that they will get certain tenders. And that is the reason I normally say this, that the problem we have in this country is the mode of leadership we have, that will always get leaders for purposes of knowing that in future you are going to facilitate. If you are going to finance you, for example, in the election, we are sure that you are going to award us this contract, so that we can get back our money.
What Bonamori Kamande says is very true, because some of the companies that are mentioned in this 3 billion secret tender deal for identity data were actually involved in last year's election. To some extent.
Yes.
But Bona John Amboro,
yes,
this appears to be the biggest problem. If at all the president is really intent on fighting corruption, government tenders are the biggest problem. It is not about bribery at any other level. This is it. This should be it. Don't you think that even he knows, because yes, he's asked all procurement officers to undergo lifestyle audits. Even he understands where the problem is. Let's not cheat ourselves that we do not know where the problem is. It is tendering in government for government procurement.
Yes. You know, we are operating in a certain medium, and government is the biggest spender in this economy. 60% of the economy is government-based. We have agenda, we have the big four to achieve, and we must remove all obstacles that are on the way to achieve the big four. And corruption and tendering is on the way, because when you're doing healthcare, universal healthcare, when you're doing food for all, when you're doing housing, all that, there will be mega contracts involved. So we must put this issue of corruption top of mind. We must always talk about it till everybody feels scared that you don't want to get corrupt. You don't want to be caught in a corrupt deal. You don't want to tender where you're not capable. You don't want to supply air. So you will find the newspapers are top on it. But I feel as we go top on it, we must also decide when do we stop marketing this bad habit.
Yes.
We must also decide for the good of the country. Otherwise, when you sell the negative all the time,
you feel the papers are being unfair to us?
Currently, we need it so much, because we have been in so much down there in terms of integrity. So we must bring it up to a certain level. Then after that certain level, then we must also decide when we now start selling our country like a sellable country where investors can come in. We can say now we have fought corruption, we have put tendering to be clean, so international investors can come and tender for jobs, local investors can come and tender for jobs. We must also realize that this thing has a direction in national security issue.
Yes, because Duncan, tendering is not evil.
Yes. It is business. It's not evil.
Yes, the government needs supplies.
Yes.
The government needs to carry out its work, and of course it will source for all these things. It is a fact that people assume that yes, you can get a government tender and fail to deliver. It is free money.
And supply.
There's a lot of free money in tendering. There are people who are simply brokers, that yes, I'll ensure you get this tender and this is my money. Yes, so if at all you are, the job was to be about 100 million shillings, then you have to tender for 150 because that 50 is mine. There's a lot of free money in government, and that's a problem.
That's actually the problem, and the bigger view of it, and even in terms of curtailing it, will actually be trying to have a procedure whereby anyone in government or anyone related directly to someone in government, or even if it is proved remotely that you're the one orchestrating, yet you're in government, whether you're an MP, whether you are a governor, whether you are the president or the deputy, that alone should be enough for you to actually take responsibility. Because I will tell you, all these machinations, all these companies behind it, and you and Murigi Kamande have indicated it very clearly. There is always a string attached to someone, and that lends credence to the fact that even with these prosecutions, you will still find people daring enough, who have the audacity to still try and craft such a thing. Why? Because they know I have a godfather somewhere who will protect me when the chickens come home to roost. However, you look at it and you look at parliament, even what is happening now. Look at the committees that are being set up. People know that with the same money that they have actually obtained from corruption, they will come and corrupt my colleagues, and with due respect to him, he may not be part of that clique, but we understand there are those people within that house who are very, very happy to shake hands and receive with the left hand money, and then give a report, very dubious, that will just mean they are part of the corruption and the corrupt systems, and will always orchestrate and ensure that these people go scot-free. And it goes to the top. You find that even the report that was being tabled yesterday about sugar, you see, even the house itself is saying there is an orchestration to try and preempt or prevent some names from being there. And
we'll get to that issue about that sugar report, because it's a different potato in itself. But on this issue of tenders, because as Duncan Okach rightly put it, everything that we've seen so far, including the fact that we've seen even senior members of government being arrested and being put behind bars for a number of days, nothing seems to be deterring. None of that is a deterrent to potential scams. This is a fresh new one. 3 billion shilling secret tender. People are even getting bolder. What is the problem? Because the president has come out and said we have to fight this, and I'm actually going to do it. But people are not scared. Yeah, you can go talk about it. We'll still find a route.
I think what the confidence that people have is the amount of money involved, and they still have that mentality that we can buy our way. We can buy our way into the justice system. They still believe you. So after NYS, everything else cool. People are being granted bail in cash. The Kenya Power Matters, it was 1 million cash bail. How many people do you think they even slept at?
They quickly paid and
they paid and they left. Yesterday we saw a member of parliament who was fined 1 million, and they paid on the spot within even 10 minutes. It didn't even go past that. So I think the confidence these people have is because they know they have the money. They also know, they think they have the connections, they have the best lawyers, and maybe they have their judges and magistrates who are going to ensure that they get away with it. Or maybe I will say that it is so chronic. You see, that habit, it is so chronic that it's so hard for them to do away with it. It is there, and I said it becomes a part of life. That when you ask a person, apart from tendering for government, providing services for government, what else do you do? Nothing. They'll not tell you. Others, their work, if you ask them for their businesses, a person has registered almost 10 companies, and for all those companies, 7 out of those are tendering are doing business with government. And you ask yourself, is he the only, are their companies the only qualified ones?
Yet he does not even have any special capacity for such.
Yes, other people, and he talked about it, other people you talked about it are brokers. Their work is to source for tenders from government, and they will always get their cut. So they get their percentage. Then they don't deliver anything, but as long as you get your contract, then they have their money. So I think it has become so ingrained in some of these people, so addictive that it is so hard for them to to quit.
Let's be fair to the Jubilee administration. These things did not start yesterday. Corruption in government has been a recurring trend for years. Talking about Anglo leasing, and that was a direct government tender. This is still there. Same thing over and over again. What would it take, in your own thinking, Bwana Njoramboro, what would it take for this to come to a stop? Because if at all it was happening in my house, probably I would cut off all the supply and just ensure, okay, fine, mutakula ugali mpaka siku ile maneno itakuwa rectified. But what happens? What do you think should happen for this to end?
Let me first react to my two colleagues. Every time when they speak, then they have to hit on the MP. I don't know what is this issue with the MP.
Well, MPs will come to discuss MPs. There's a big headline here that
talking about tendering in government, then they go around an MP in parliament or bribe. You see, it's a bad narrative we are selling to the public. We are the same people who chose those guys, and we must raise their statues, rather than every time hitting on them without any good reason of hitting on the MPs. We're in charge of oversighting government. We're also in charge of representing, but mainly you have asked me what is really happening, or the history of issues of tendering. To be honest and to be fair to Jubilee government, corruption is being dealt with right, left, center. Today you walk to any government institution and ask for a tender, or when you get to power, initially everybody comes telling you that immediately you go to government, there's a tender I'm pushing in Kenya Power, there's a tender I'm pushing in here. But today you walk to any government institution, you find the fear that everybody has. So I'm thinking that we're in a good trend, and I'm thinking we're in a good position now. We're heading somewhere.
With these headlines on a daily basis, we're actually doing better?
Yes, these headlines are to take us to the... Otherwise, if we kept quiet, everything will be happening. So we are heading to the right direction. We are hitting where it matters. We are trying to... When you put CCTV cameras, why do you put CCTV cameras? To catch the thief or to deter? We normally put CCTV cameras to deter people, and you rate their CCTV surveillance.
Yes.
Why do you do that? So that you may deter that thief who is coming. So also, this is a very good strategy of deterring people who have...
Through headlines.
Yes, good headlines. People who have intentions of coming to...
But my question is, because it seems as a country we need something radical that will just bring this to a halt. And I'm wondering, what is this magic wand that President Uhuru Kenyatta or any other leader will wave and actually say this has actually... I think
it's a complex issue. One, if I was in that position today, in fact, we were discussing with someone about revenue collection. I can decide today, from today onwards, I know people have not been paying taxes, people have not been doing this, I stop that, and from today onwards, you are all compliant. Now I want people to start paying taxes. If you don't, then when we get you, we put you straight in jail.
Yes.
Things like tendering, it's a complex issue. It comes from payment. In fact, I was to bring a motion to urge the government that anyone who has done a job for the government should not take more than 30, 60 days without being paid. Today, one big source of corruption.
Oh, that would even be more lucrative for these guys.
No,
if, 2 months and I get my money?
There is a bigger source of corruption when you go beg government officials to pay you.
No pushing.
Yeah, for pushing your payment. Wow. So that is a big source of corruption where everybody says, bring my kickback, so that you can get paid. But if legally they know that there are time limits where they should pay or the government should be sued. So tenders will be done above board, and you are paid above board without going to beg people to pay you in government.
Okay, and even as we continue discussing this issue of tenderpreneurship in government, we continue looking at traffic updates, traffic situation in Nairobi. We do have a Thika Road this morning, a bit dark, sun was coming out. I think this is much